So, you know, I've been playing I've been playing Persona 5, really trying to get through the game. Really in the past couple of days some video ideas have come via playing Persona 5, and I really do like the game. Look for my final take on the game in the next couple of days. But I was going through the collector's edition, which I have here to my left, and I started to notice some things that I just absolutely hated in it. And I'm not a huge collector's edition guy because I find that most of the stuff that is included in the game isn't really something that like speaks to me. I listen to music like all the time. So I really enjoy when a developer or publisher inserts their own soundtrack into the collector's edition instead of like DLC or a collectible. I like soundtrack because it takes really an essence of the game that you can't really have. Like the Morgana plush toy, for instance, it's not in the actual game. Morgana is an actual character. The art book, even though that there's concept art in the game, I can't necessarily I'm not necessarily looking at it like all day long. I'm not holding the book to my face and looking at it. I can just plug in some headphones, listen to some music from not game developers, but from video games. And I think that Persona 5 has a pretty good soundtrack actually overall. But let's get into the problem of the collector's edition. Now, for starters, and I have to say this, I have to preface this. You know that a collector's edition is subpar at best when the box is better than most of the content that's in the collector's edition. Now, here we go. And I wanted to check this. I actually wanted to check this before I even made this video. Now, I went on a GameSpot's website and I made sure to look this up because I want to try and be as accurate as I possibly can so not to mislead you as the viewer. And I was really curious. I was wondering how many soundtracks or how many songs were on the actual soundtrack of the game. And this is the Sounds of Rebellion soundtrack. And I talked to Atlus. I called Atlus up maybe like a week before the game was released, and I spoke to a representative, and they were like, we don't own all of the music, so we couldn't insert the music, all of the music, onto the soundtrack. I was like, okay, fine. And no, not on the soundtrack. I actually called them about the Japanese collector's edition. Let me back that up a little bit. The Japanese collector's edition had all 5 soundtracks on or in the collector's edition. So I called them about, well, why isn't all 5 soundtracks in the English edition? And the lady told me, hey, we don't own all of the music, so we can't actually use and put the music into our game's collector's edition. Perfectly fine. That's perfectly acceptable. That happens. I didn't realize that she was either talking about putting all 5 game soundtrack into the collector's edition, or even Persona 5 soundtrack altogether. Now, the soundtrack itself is called Sounds of Rebellion. I don't know why Atlus went with that, but alright. And there's about 19 tracks on the soundtrack. Now, when I actually was recording the original video that I made of me unboxing this collector's edition, I'd wanted to use sound from the soundtrack, songs from the soundtrack. And most of the songs weren't even, like, most of the songs in the soundtrack weren't even a minute long. Some of them were less than a minute long. Most of them weren't 2 minutes long. And it was kind of, in the music that was in the soundtrack was this repeating music that you hear all the time in the game. And it's sad because even like the songs, like the song that's played at night in the game, that's not even put in the actual soundtrack. So I knew that there was songs that wouldn't be in the soundtrack, but as I started to play the game, more and more, I heard new music that I had never heard before and that I did not hear in the soundtrack. Do you want to take a crack at how many songs are excluded from this soundtrack from the English soundtrack, 91. 91. They get and the worst part about this is what frustrates me. Atlus released the entirety of the soundtrack on iTunes 2 days ago. GameSpot reported on this 2 days ago. 110 songs. 19 of them are on this soundtrack. This one that I bought, this one that I paid an additional $30 for. That's what I get. That's the congratulations that I get. Hey, thank you for purchasing our game. We're gonna put not even half of the songs on this soundtrack. Why?
Because fuck you, give me money.
You're telling me, Atlus USA, you're telling me that you actually own a quarter of the game's soundtrack. And by the way, this isn't a slack on the game's soundtrack. I think the game's soundtrack is fantastic. I'm talking about the marketing, the business aspect of it. Why did you, if I had known that not even half of the songs, it's not even half, it's not even a third, it's a quarter of the game's songs are on this game. If I had known that, no purchase. No purchase. No collector's edition. You don't even get the sticker that you get to put on your controller in this collector's edition. I'm not done yet. Now I'm looking at the collector's edition. Again, the game is fantastic. The game is easily the game of the year. There's no argument there. The soundtrack is fantastic. The game is great. The marketing behind the game, the business side, horrible. Now, I have the art book here. The actual art book cover. Look at that cover. It looks fantastic. And the best thing about the cover, or the cover of the art book, is even the back. How it has that, like, the whole red. And it's the whole red with the Persona 5 logo on it. And it's even like it has this glossy frame to it. And it's just such a cool art book, too. The problem is that once... And by the way, unless you, like, play the game, you won't know any of these characters. I won't tell you any plot details. But I was looking through the art book the night that I was, the night that I had unboxed the collector's edition and posted the video. I was looking through the art book because I was like, man, this is some pretty cool sketches of the main character. Like, here's the main character and his persona. And then you have, more sketches of him. And then you have sketches of other characters that are in the story, specifically main characters. This is your prime love interest to an extent, but you can also get in most of the other ones. But really, the interesting thing about Persona 5 is that you can romance really any woman in the game, to be honest with you. By the way, this may be a spoiler, but I don't really care. Older or younger, so you can have a very mature woman or not, but really, like, a lot of the sketches, like Makoto's, like, this is Makoto, that's my waifu, her persona is a motorcycle, you can't beat that, right? None of this is bad, by the way. None of this is why, like, the art book is just so terrible to me. This is, like, they do a great job of the primary characters in the game, and it's just so cool to see this. But unfortunately, if you really look closely at some of the advertisement with the game kind of spoils itself with telling you who the traitor is within your group. And unfortunately, you can kind of see, like, these are some of the villains. This isn't all of the villains, nor is one of the people on this specific page a villain. And that's sad, because the person that's not a villain is portrayed as a villain, and he's not. And it's just like, well, why is he on this specific page? And the worst thing is that not all of the concept art is, like, the villains, they get, what, a quarter of a page dedicated to them. Meanwhile, you have full-on pages for the introduction of characters. I won't show you all of the confidants because I don't want to spoil the game for you, just in case if you want to learn who the confidants are. But, I mean, you have some pretty cool sketches of the confidants, but it's not all of the confidants. Oh my god, it really isn't. But it's not all of the confidants, nor is it even half of the confidants really in this art book. And unfortunately, I don't even think it's a quarter of the confidants. Actually, it may be about half. It may be about half of the confidants. But I mean, you don't really have a lot of content with the art book, and then you have some sketches that are in the game, but you don't have all of the villains and some of the cool shots, some of the cool concept arts. The concept art selection that I would consider pretty significant are the villains, especially when they turn into shadows, because the shadows in the game are pretty interesting. And personally, I would have wanted a section just dedicated to the persona. You wouldn't necessarily have to have like pages upon pages dedicated to just like one persona, but I mean, good God, look at this. They put their own advertisement in the art book. I mean, I'm not bullshitting you. There's pages. This is advertisement. That was advertisement for the game. Advertisement. Hang on. This page in particular was on is actually the box. Is the box that comes with Persona 5. I don't know if you can see that, but it's the box that comes with Persona 5. And it's like, well, hold on a minute. Wait a minute now. What else is there? And there's nothing else in the collector's. This is it! After the advertisements, you have a word from the author who, you know, no slack to him. But I mean, good God, man. There's no content in the art book. And it's just, there's nothing here in the collector's edition. And it's like, listen, Atlus, hey, I understand you don't want us to record your gameplay via the PlayStation share button. I understand that. But could you at least have said, you know what? We're going to give our fans who have waited for the past, what is it? You announced the game in 2013. It was delayed for, I think, December 2014. It was delayed again 2015. We didn't have it 2016. It was released in Japan in 2016 in September. You said that it was going to be released on February. You delayed it again from February to now April. And this is what we get for waiting the collector's edition? For the collector's edition? This is all we get? We don't even get the damn sticker that goes on the controller. I mean, I was literally debating when I bought this game whether or not to go back to GameSpot, and get my money back for the collector's edition and get the regular edition just so I could get the sticker. I mean, 19 tracks is not worth it. Hang on, let me call Atlus and let me try and see if I can't negotiate with them, even though it's probably just a representative. Oh, hi. This is one of your customers that bought your collector's edition, and I love your game. I love Persona 5. I think it's one of the best games made in the past decade. But I went on GameSpot's website, and I even tried to figure this out because I was wondering how many tracks in the soundtrack were not included in the English version of the collector's edition, and GameSpot reported that it was about 110 songs that weren't included in the soundtrack. And I was wondering if there was some way that I could at least get 20 additional songs for free.
Let me ask. For what did you say?
The collector's edition, because I have 19 tracks out of 110.
Right. So we actually have the soundtrack available on iTunes. That actually, I think it went out yesterday. So you can look up on that and figure out which songs you want, or buy the whole thing, or buy a couple tracks, whatever.
So I have to repurchase parts of the soundtrack to be able to get the soundtrack that I even bought.
Well, the soundtrack in the collector's edition wasn't that 101. It was a selected number of tracks. Yes.
Okay. Is there any way to redeem that, or is that it?
That's it.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Yeah, no worries. Bye.
You don't know how disappointed that phone call makes me. I mean, listen. Again, the game is fantastic. I even told him on the phone I thought his game was fantastic. It's not his game. He may not have necessarily been part of the development, but I thought that the game was fantastic. The simplicity of the fact that not even half, I wanted a quarter of the games is featured in the game on the soundtrack, and not even that is featured on the soundtrack, I think is ridiculous. I think I'm kind of done with collector's editions, and this is probably my first one besides this is probably one of my first collector's editions. I really don't remember buying any. I was really excited for this, and it's a huge disappointment. I know that this is a couple of weeks late, but I would rather me kind of just analyze this and get the information now, even though that the soundtrack was apparently released yesterday, even though GameSpot reported on this 2 days ago. But I would at least rather have the information for you late than, try and say, oh, okay, the soundtrack only has 19 songs on it. That's it. No, I'm not going to do that to you. This has been 24. Remember to like, comment, favorite, and subscribe for more. This is just depressing. This is just depressing. Again, the game is fantastic. I think the game is fantastic. But the simplicity of the fact that the game is, that the collector's edition is this poorly marketed, and this, or that the collector's edition has so little that I expected. Like, it's just lacking content, which is so surprising to me coming from Atlus. But I mean, I could just talk myself into circles now, so I'm gonna end the video here. Have a fantastic day. I will not. I'm gonna have to play like 5 hours of Persona 5. I'll see you next time.